Howdy everyone, I'm your host Andy from Zeldom. If you clicked on this video, you have to admit that fan shipping is a guilty pleasure of yours. So in continuation of the Link's Love series on this channel, we will revisit our analysis of which characters will most likely end up having a romantic relationship with the hero of time. So without further delay, let's dive into it. Even as a young boy, the hero of time had many friendships that could have led to a romantic relationship. He even gets hit on by an odd cast of characters, such as the Poe Collector, who tells Link that if he looked as good as him, he could run a different kind of business. Nabooru of the Gerudo also promises young Link to do something great for him if he helps her obtain the Silver Gauntlets. This alone isn't significant, but is given meaning once adult Link defeats Twinrova and awakens Nabooru as a sage, where she tells him, "If I only knew you would become such a handsome man, I should have kept the promise I made back then." I think we all know what this is suggestive of, and if you don't, I'll let you figure this one out on your own. Some people online have shipped Nabooru with Link, but because this is the only kind of non-platonic interaction they have in the massive age gap, we can conclude two things. Nabooru and Link likely would not end up together, and Nintendo isn't very good at making their innuendos subtle. On a more important note, an expected ship for young Link is his childhood friend, Saria. Although sweet, this isn't an appropriate ship because the Kokiri canonically maintain their childlike appearance while Link is actually a Hylian. As we can see in the game, Link grows to adulthood while Saria remains a child, so though they are close friends, shipping them together is wildly inappropriate. But even though a romantic relationship can't happen between these two, they maintain a close bond. When Link first leaves Kokiri Forest as a child, Saria asks him, "We'll be friends forever, won't we?" 7 years later, when Link returns to the Sacred Forest meadow where Saria taught him her song, Link is shown blankly staring at the stump for a moment before she arrives. The game doesn't reveal any context as to why Link was staring, but we can reasonably infer that he was recalling his memories of Saria and likely wishing to see her again. But who knows, maybe he changes his mind when he realized Saria had smoked all the dope and forgot who he was. Another potential ship is Princess Ruto because, well, they technically got engaged in Sora culture. The two first meet as kids when inside Jabu Jabu's belly. Although she's quite the brat and doesn't hold back from ridiculing Link, she quickly develops a crush on him. Once they've escaped, she gives him the Zora Sapphire he was after. To Link's surprise, Ruto informs him that her mother told her only to give it to the man who will be her future husband, and that the sapphire was essentially the Zora's royal engagement ring. Honestly, Link is kind of a jerk because he doesn't even give any reaction to this information, he just takes it and leaves. Link doesn't seem to show any interest in Ruto, but later, another Zora will say that Link is all Princess Ruto talks about lately. The two won't meet again until Link awakens 7 years later and reaches the Water Temple. There, Ruto is waiting to scold them for keeping her waiting, and lets them know that she never forgot the vows they made to each other. Obviously, we never see Link's dialogue in the game, but it just looks like he's thinking, "Girl, I never vowed anything, you just gave me a rock and then claimed we were engaged." Anyways, after defeating Morpha and awakening Ruto as a sage, she tells him that she grants her eternal love to him, which causes Link to flinch. I think this makes it pretty clear that the affection is not mutual, which pretty much kills this ship. And even if this wasn't enough justification, the hero of Twilight is a direct descendant, no more than a couple of generations down the line. The fact that the hero of Twilight isn't part Zora further supports that the hero of time didn't get with Ruto. Out of the characters we've discussed so far, none of them have enough grounds to justify a potential romantic relationship following the events of the game. However, both Zelda and Malon have valid cases. Link first meets Zelda in the castle courtyard early on in the game. She believes she had some prophetic dream and immediately invests all her trust into Link just because he had the spiritual stone from the forest. Seems a bit naive for the person who will bear the Triforce of Wisdom, but hey, I'm not the gods, who am I to judge? Or there's always the possibility she had an instant crush on him and told him all of Hyrule's secrets. She definitely wouldn't be the only one crushing on Link. Young Link and Zelda don't share much interaction as far as we see in Ocarina of Time, but between it and Link's departure from Hyrule shown in Majora's Mask, Zelda tells Link, "Although it was only a short time, I feel like I've known you forever. I'll never forget the days we spent together in Hyrule, and I believe in all my heart that a day will come when I shall meet you again." This cutscene allows us to infer that after Link returned to his original time and went to warn Zelda of Ganondorf's plan, they spent some time together before he departed Hyrule. Based on Zelda's expressed emotion in the dialogue, it appears that the two became close. We also must remember that they're still children at this point, so even if it was more than platonic, it would only be a foundation for a future relationship. When they're older, Zelda disguised as Sheik poetically tells them, "Time passes, people move. Like a river's flow, it never ends. A childish mind will turn to noble ambition. Young love will become deep affection." One possible interpretation of this quote is that Sheik could be subtly admitting to her own crush. After awakening as a sage, Princess Ruto even detects that Link is searching for Zelda. However, this doesn't necessarily mean he had romantic feelings for her. They were initially teamed up to stop Ganondorf, so it makes sense that he'd be trying to find her during his quest. So at this point, we can say that a Z-Link ship for the Hero of Time is possible, but doesn't have enough grounds to say it's likely. Finally, we're left with Malon. The two first meet in Castletown when the young Link is on his way to confront Zelda. She immediately notices Navi and Link's unique attire, then grants him the nickname Fairy Boy. It's not much, but at least we can say she already has a pet name for him. And hey, odds are she'll likely have daddy issues since her dad left her to deliver a shipment of milk and hasn't returned yet. Later, Link visits Lon Lon Ranch and finds Malon singing what we know as Epona's song to the horses. Malon tells Link that it was a song her mother taught her before passing away. What we can take away from this is that Malon was likely already fond of Link and was comfortable enough sharing such personal information with him. This notion is also strengthened by information provided by a gossip stone. They say that Malon from Lon Lon Ranch hopes a knight in shining armor will come sweep her off her feet someday. Link may not have the shining armor, but he does have his Master Sword, if you know what I mean. Link can also participate in Talon's Super Cuckoo Finding minigame. After succeeding, Talon says, "You've got to be one of the world's best cowboys. How would you like to marry Malon?" Haha, I was just kidding. Just kidding. I think you're a little too young for that, aren't you? Ha ha ha. Talon is a character that doesn't ever really put any effort into what he does or says, so it seems to me like he's joking here, but also genuinely trying to throw out the idea, if that makes any sense. As always the case, we can't really tell what's going through Link's head, but at least if he ever did want to get together with Malon, he'd have her father's blessing. In the game Majora's Mask, Link, aka the Hero of Time, enters a new world known as Termina, where the majority of the inhabitants are doppelgangers of people Link encountered in his journey during Ocarina of Time. Among these characters are two sisters, Cremia and Romani, who were respectively counterparts for adult and child Malon. If you're a subscriber to this channel, you likely know I'm firmly in favor of a theory that Termina was all a subconscious journey of self-discovery rather than a literal adventure in a parallel world. If you'd like to learn my take on this subject, I'll link 2 videos at the end of this video. But for now, we'll be interpreting Link's interactions with Cremia and Romani to represent Link's memories and thoughts regarding Malon. When Link first meets Romani, she gives him the nickname Grasshopper, similar to how Malon nicknamed him Fairy Boy. Though Link learned Epona's song from Malon in Ocarina of Time, the player cannot actually play the song in Majora's Mask until Romani reteaches it to him. She describes it as the song of two who are bound by trust. At the surface level, it seems Romani is simply referring to the bond between Link and Epona. However, let's recall that Malon's mother taught her the song before she passed. Malon is also frequently singing this song, so there's the possibility that the melody we know as Epona's song is something Malon sings to express her love for her mother since they are no longer together. As such, young Malon and Romani teaching Epona's song to Link can symbolize the formation of an emotional bond. In Ocarina of Time, we had to infer that young Malon thought Link was cute and was flirting with them, but in Majora's Mask, Romani makes her thoughts perfectly clear by teasing him and telling him he's cute straight to his face. And in cycles where Link stays home with Romani on the evening of the second day instead of accompanying Cremia, Romani will invite Link to live with her and Cremia and even offer her own bed to him. This makes it obvious how much she wants Link to stick around. Or suppose we wanted to make a far-fetched interpretation. In that case, we could suggest that this is Link's subconscious manifesting what he really wants. My dude sure knows how to dream. Anyways, there are many more events and dialogue which we could stretch interpretations for to try to show how Link may have felt for other characters, but I don't want to get too abstract or speculative in this video. However, in my Tragedy of Time video, I did a deep dive into the emotional burden Link must have borne and how the events of Majora's Mask reflect that. The video gives new meaning to the quote by the Happy Mask Salesman. Shouldn't you be returning home as well? Whenever there is a meeting, a parting is sure to follow. However, that parting need not last forever. Whether a parting be forever or merely a short time, that is up to you. I explained this quote to be a realization for Link, where he begins to acknowledge how vital his friendships and relationships are to him, and that he can control his own destiny, in which he makes his return back to Hyrule. This idea helps support a ship with either Zelda or Malon, but technically, It just says that he longed for his friends, not necessarily that he had romantic feelings. All in all, the games with the Hero of Time lack any canon evidence of Link's romantic affection towards any particular character, but the point of this video is to determine which match is the most likely, so that's what we're going to do. We can rule out Saria because, well, as we discussed, that would just be messed up. Naburu because the only suggestion for romance is a single innuendo, and Ruto because Link seems to be disturbed by the idea of being with her. So, that leaves it between Zelda and Malon, both of which have their merits, but if we consider the hero of Twilight's background, we can make a more informed decision. Link from Twilight Princess is known to be the descendant of the Hero of Time and grew up in Ordon Village, a small community beyond the Faerun province that supports itself primarily through farming and ranching. If the Hero of Time ended up marrying Princess Zelda, his descendant a few generations down the line likely wouldn't be working as a ranch hand so isolated from the rest of Hyrule. I guess it's possible, but it seems like a lot of work to come up with a story to explain that, and just overall very unlikely. On the other hand, all of this could fit the narrative of Link getting together with Malon. The hero of Twilight lives in a home with Kokiri-like architecture that's isolated from the rest of the village, so it's possible the Hero of Time was the first settler in that village. With this information, it makes sense that Link and Malon could have been the original settlers of Ordon and brought her ranching lifestyle with them. We may never know if that'll ever be canon, but in my opinion, it's the best explanation we have, so we'll have to say that the most likely ship for the Hero of Time is Malon. If you'd like to watch my complete analysis of the emotional baggage carried by the Hero of Time, click here. And if you haven't heard the details of my Majora's Mask dream theory and why I believe this idea is valid despite all you non-believers, I highly recommend checking out this video first. Thank you all for watching, Zeldom out.